Hi, I'm Crystal,
And I'm Neoshia.
and you're listening to the Rom-Com Detectives. Welcome to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 76, Mama's on the Prowl. Today, Neoshia and I will be talking about Castle Season 2, Episode 8, Kill the Messenger.
This episode originally aired on November 9th, 2009, was written by Terrence Paul, Winter, and directed by Jonathan Frakes.
All right, so case briefing. It starts off with one murder, but it turns into like a case with three murders. So there's a lot of bodies in this one. There's Caleb Szymanski. He's the bike messenger. There's Brady Thompson, who is the guy in prison. And then there's the original murder that this all started with, Olivia DiBiase. And the causes of death were hit and run, shanking, and blunt force trauma. And the killer for all of them was, I mean, not like literally the killer, but I think the person responsible for all of the murders is Frank, right?
I would actually argue yes, but I would also argue it's the mom. It's the matriarch, the family matriarch, because she's the one that orders all
Okay.
this. He's just the
Yeah,
fixer.
that's true. But I mean, he is probably the one who actually kills Olivia, right?
I think so. I mean, but the way I see this is kind of like imagine being a family that has so much money that you essentially have a bureaucrucy of like killing people because it's like it starts with the matriarch and then it goes down right through the
The
fixer to
fixer,
whomever. Yeah.
who then subcontracts out to a prison lifer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a whole, yeah, like you said, there's a whole hierarchy. But the
Yeah.
motive for all of this was to cover up the original murder of Olivia. So, guest stars, there were several familiar faces to me. Mark Moses played Blake Wellesley, and he's from Mad Men, Desperate Housewives, Homeland, The Killing, and he actually played three different characters on SVU. I guess when there's a show that runs for 27 seasons, you can just show up again as somebody else and nobody will really blink.
Yeah, and also too, I would just flag for SVU. They do tend to like rely heavily on New York based actors,
Mm.
and so a lot of people who maybe do theater or and not even just theater, but like actors in general. So I think that's why we often see some of the same folks in rotation.
And it's the same thing for LA, right? Like you see a lot of the same actors in the procedurals that are filmed out there versus the ones in New York. So
Yeah, but I think there's something a little bit more unique about the way that SVU does it. And I know this kind of came to light during COVID with just, they were relying on New York-based actors, getting actors who couldn't get theater work at the time. So I think that makes the New York scene a little bit more unique, but you're absolutely right. Like we see so much crossover.
then there was Greg Henry. He plays Winston Wellesley. He's from Law and Order, OC, Scandal, The Killing, and the following. And he was in an episode of The Mentalist. He was in, I think it was Red Handed. He plays Cal Trask. He's like a gambler. The guy who buys a night with like the daughter of the casino guy or the wife of the casino guy. Yeah, he's like a skeevy guy.
Well, obviously, he's buying a night with somebody.
Then there's Ron Melendez. He played Jeff Dillahunt. That's such a strange last name to me. When they said it, I was just laughing about that. He's from Young and the Restless and General Hospital and Legacy. And then Jill Andre, she was Mrs. Wellesley. And she was like, you know how we were just talking about her, how there's actors who guest star in a lot of different shows. She was like this, but in like the 80s. She was on Dallas, she was on Dynasty, Knots Landing, The Older Matlock. She did the rounds on all the popular shows back then. So I thought that was amusing. She's from a earlier generation of guest stars.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at this like lineup of Dallas Dynasty, Knots Landing, she was born to play this role.
Yeah. Okay, episode breakdown. So it starts off with a bike messenger being rammed by a car, and then his bag is stolen by a man in a ski mask. So this one, I wasn't sure if this was literally Frank or if he hired out for this one too. So, like, what do you think?
I thought he was just hiring out patsies. That's kind of the impression I got by the end, was that Brady didn't even kill Olivia.
Yeah.
It was more so he called somebody and was like, "Hey, if I give you this much money, will you say you did it?"
But by the time he kills the bike messenger, he doesn't have access to the money anymore. So he can't
Right.
he already
So I think he
couldn't
has to do it.
pay. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's there's a good chance that he's the one who killed the bike messenger.
Hmm.
And then next it goes to Alexis. I actually really like this side family plot line because it's really cute, and it continues for several more episodes down the line. And I really like this one. But
Hmm.
Alexis helps Martha set up. They don't show what platform it is, right? But it kind of presumably just seems like some kind of like MySpace/Facebook kind of thing, like a
I'm pretty
generic
sure.
one.
I'm pretty sure it's Facebook, because this is when Facebook. This was. Are we? We're still in 2009, so Facebook has gone public and it's becoming more and more popular. MySpace is already on the decline by this point. So I think they say my face, and then there's like a little gag where Castle's about to say the real name, and Alexa stops him. And so I don't know if that's just because like, oh, we need name clearance to use Facebook or MySpace, or if it's just because they were trying to be funny and not actually clarify which it was.
I think maybe like they were just doing like a blending of both of them, which I actually find amusing. So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same concept, except for you couldn't put like songs on your Facebook like that, and can't organize your friends and like alienate some of your friends because you're like, why did you put so and so as number one instead of me?
that's right. I forgot you could rank your
You
friends
could
on
organize,
MySpace.
yes, you could organize your friends like by ranking. It got so shady. It could get so shady, and all the mood music that you could have, and like, anyway,
Oh my gosh, I forgot all of these things. It's so long ago. And you had to be friends with Tom, right? When you joined
yeah,
MySpace.
Tom was everybody's friend.
So she shows them three different photos that she is debating using for her profile. And I just thought it was so funny that she doesn't think anything about using these really old headshots. One of them was even black and white, right?
They all were.
Oh, they
They were
all were
all. Yeah, but I think they're all her old headshots.
her glam shots.
Yeah.
But she gets Castle to panic by making a joke about his receding hairline. And he looks at his reflection in a toaster. And that's when Beckett calls. And so Castle arrives before Beckett and he asks if he can give her the rundown. But he goes off topic and starts rambling about Kevin Bacon. And then Esposito takes over and he goes through everything and he says that they have three witnesses and a license plate. And then Castle complains about this, saying it's like having a cheat code. But then it's kind of funny that he said this because the case turned out to be pretty like a lot more intricate than their typical cases, I feel like.
Hmm.
Just because they had to go way in the past and investigate different murders to solve this murder.
Well, yeah. Not only that, but like it's kind of a leap, because if I would have like, oh, we have the license plate, we have X, Y, and Z, I would have immediately assumed that like, oh, it's a stolen car. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't immediately assume it's solved or that it's easily resolved. I would think, oh, well, this could get complicated. So better figure out what's going on with this car.
Well, it is Castle though, so.
I know.
So Beckett and Castle report to Montgomery, and he's really distracted because their precinct is under review and their case solve rate is a little too low, and they're talking about cutting their budget. And Esposito arrives with information about the package and that it was possibly going coming from someone on the terror watch list. And it was going to a police precinct. So everyone gets on the phone and there's a whole flurry of thing about evacuating and stuff like that. And they burst into the apartment of the person who sent the package and they find an old lady named Sally Niedermeyer. And I don't really understand the mix up here because they went to the right address, right?
Right address, wrong name.
Wrong
And so,
name.
yeah, they come in looking for the wrong person. Like they break her door
Okay.
down.
And they think it's a terrorist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, I mean, this is 2009, so S Nidal Matar. I mean, I think that's supposed to sound like an Arabic name.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think that's where they're getting that from.
I thought it was so funny that Castle's just like, our bad.
And they put the door back up.
Yeah. I think
Oh,
this is like a scene that like fans tend to enjoy a lot. Not this one, but the one right after this, when the three guys are sitting on her couch and the cats are all over them and they're drinking tea from her tea set.
I mean, like as a Mentalist fan, I will say like that gives me a little shell shock. I'm like, should we be drinking tea at this lady's house? But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that scene? Because to me, I feel like that actress was like overacting. Um, like the aunt, like she just seemed like she was very like overacting in terms of like Detective Roy Montgomery. Like and how she delivered like his name and everything. Like I don't know. That scene seemed a little bit much, but I get why. It's a fun scene. I'm not taking the fun out of it. I just felt like there was a
I mean,
little overacting.
I thought it was fine, but I thought she looked really familiar. But I went to go look at her IMDb page, and I didn't recognize anything. So I think she probably just looks like somebody else that I remember in my memory from something else. But they learned that she sent a package, and it was from her nephew Brady, who gave her the package before he went to prison. And he had called her that morning and told her to send the package to Roy Montgomery, which is their captain. And so we go back to the station, and he says he remembers the case, but that it was open and shut. And he says that they'll have to go talk to Brady. But then Esposito comes and says, "Oh, he was just killed that morning in prison," which is very convenient. So they pull the case files and they bring in Brady's wife, and he also wants them to get on the phone with the warden. And so they get the recordings of the phone calls that he made before he died.
Yeah, and I thought this is kind of for me not really a plot hole. It's just more so like one of those things you set up for the drama, but I was just like they seem to take so much care with how they handled the other murder that like this one how it kind of plays out and like the whole like we got to kill Brady on the same day that we kill the bike messenger with the message or with the packet. It seems very like it's too on the nose is what I'm trying to say. It's not as carefully carried out as the other, even though he knew it
Yeah.
was coming.
So Ryan comes to tell Beckett that the sister of the bike messenger who got killed in the hit and run is sitting at her desk waiting for her. And so Castle and Montgomery watch her as she goes to sit down with the woman to notify her. And Castle asks, "How does she do it?" And he says, "Better than anyone I know." And this is something they've been establishing so far, right? That Beckett has a real way with notifying people.
Yeah. Like I think she's really a people person. Well, I mean, she's definitely a people person, but in the way of like she knows how to communicate with victims' families really well.
Yeah, and it's tied to like her having received a notification of her own, right? So they listened to Brady's last two phone calls, including the one to Aunt Sally. Did you did you think that her her phone conversation was over the top too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just felt like it was all like really over the top. Like, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. It felt a little over the top to me.
But he wanted her to take the package down there herself. And the part that stood out to me was he was basically leaning on her to go and hand deliver it. And I was just like, dude, don't you know that your aunt is like elderly? I mean, she had like the oxygen nose thing on and everything, right? And she's telling him on the phone call, "Oh, but my hip is bad." And he's just like, "Well, fine, get a bike messenger." And I was like, wow.
I mean, no, it doesn't surprise me because like pay attention to how she said, "Oh, he's my favorite nephew." And like he's been in prison for 10 years. But he's our favorite nephew. And I bet he probably just thought she would do it because like he's her favorite and she'll do whatever he wants.
But the other call is to his wife, and this one sounds really urgent and panicked. And he's referencing something that they talked about the last time they saw each other, and that he says it's going down today, and that her and her son need to get out of the house now. And so, what we later find out that he's referring to is that his package is going to get delivered, and I guess what he thinks is going to happen is that he might eventually be released from prison, right?
I mean, I think so. Like, I
Like
think that's his
he's not
goal.
anticipating being killed, but he thinks that maybe his wife and son might be in danger from the person who's paying him off, right?
Yeah, because I think that's why he has the package sentence so that he has, if he's not getting paid, why is he being in prison?
Yeah.
So I think that's his goal.
So Esposito tells him that the wife and son aren't at home and it looks like they left in a hurry, which is basically what they probably already knew from based on the phone call. But Ryan says that Brady's son misses school every Tuesday for a doctor's appointment, and so they set up something to intercept him at the doctor's. Then next week they take us to Martha at home. She's complaining about her social media page and how people want to reconnect with her and they're so irritating. And we should add her Marthaism. She says nothing good comes from the internet.
Yeah, she's like, how many friend requests did she say? She basically says it's a part-time job managing her. Is that this part or is that later?
I don't know. It's so funny that like they had this little thing because it felt familiar to me. Like the whole thing about, oh, should I accept this request? And oh, I haven't talked to this person in so long. And then when you actually like reconnect with somebody and then they start they start talking to you about things and you're just like, why did I say okay?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like because Facebook has kind of gone to the wayside at this point. I know people still have one. I still have one, but like this is also too, I think back when people were still like taking this as a really serious method of reconnecting with people you haven't talked to in a while. And so yeah, I can see how this could be stressed out because you don't want to reconnect with everybody you haven't talked to in a while.
Okay, so there was one time where someone reconnected with me on Facebook, and I was just like, okay, I probably said two words to you, and I don't think you liked me, but okay. And I accepted it, and it turned into a sales pitch. She wanted to sell me home goods, and I was just like, oh, that's why. That's the catch.
That is such a common tactic for MLMs though. Like the people who like no offense if you do the MLM thing, but like, oh, I'm selling these herbs or whatever like the MLM companies sell. And so they reconnect and they want to talk to you about selling products and you're just like, I am not interested in the products you're selling.
I felt bad though, and I bought something.
I
That's how they
know.
get you.
I know.
They got me.
I think the weirdest ones are the ones where you have to throw a party. Um,
Oh, no, no.
I
Yeah,
hate
like
those.
when I first heard about the concept of Tupperware parties, I was like, hell no. No way I am doing something like this. So I noped out of that real quick. Cause I was just like, is this for real? They mean for you to have a literal party and then sell things to people at the party?
Yeah,
And
like they
so
have party games and everything, and it
yeah.
was a whole thing, yeah.
Do people still do that now?
I think it's all online now. Like I don't think Tupperware is a thing anymore, maybe, I don't know. But like the type of like things that we're talking about, I think it's more so like I'm having a party online because the last time I did a party, I my friend was selling these nail applique things. And so I hosted one of the parties online. And so every few minutes she would post like something and it was like a game type thing. And you would choose a winner. It was fine.
See, that sounds more appealing to me. It was the whole in-person concept that I was just like, nah.
But it was the 80s and 90s, Crystal. They weren't on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah, there wasn't online stuff to keep you occupied.
Right.
Okay, so Martha gets a new friend request from Chet Palaber, her high school sweetheart, and she mentions that he was her first, which grosses Castle out, and that would gross me out too. Not gonna lie, I would be like, no, too much information.
I mean, she technically doesn't even know who Castle's dad is, but okay.
True. And so he sends a message along with his request and says he'd love to see her. You haven't changed a bit. And she's excited until Castle points out that she used a 20-year-old photo in her profile. And okay, so this is the part where I thought it was kind of ridiculous because she's freaking out, thinking that he is literally going to expect her from 20 years ago to show up. But it's like, come on. He has aged as well.
I know, but like think of how common that experience is though. Like people use so like in my profession, you will see people using headshots from like 20 or 30 years ago and like you meet them in person and that's just not how they look anymore because like they didn't want to get a new photo taken. And so I mean I think there's a little bit of shock, but also like okay, cool, whatever. But to not look like how you look on
No,
your
no,
social media.
that I understand, especially if it's someone you've never met, like like a job interview candidate or something like that. But they went to high school together, they dated, they're the same age, is what I'm saying. So they knew each other previously, so he knows what she looked like back then. He's not gonna literally expect that same person to show up 20 years later. You know what I mean?
I would hope so, but like I don't know, man. People get weird about the aging stuff. Like they think, "Oh, I mean, so for example, I'm 37, and so next year's my 20th high school graduation. And I mean, there's people my age who have completely gray hair, people who have no gray hair, people who kind of have so-so, hair or whatever. But then like I think there is a expectation that like we should all look young and people I think sometimes think they look younger than they do. I don't know. It's a whole thing. People get weird about ages. That's all I'm saying.
You just reminded me that next year is my 30th high school reunion, or 30th anniversary of graduating high school.
Yeah. I mean, but the to be on topic of what we're actually talking about, I think the Facebook thing has kind of like changed the game because yeah, it's been 20 years, but like I've been Facebook friends with all these people since we were in high school. So
Mm,
we've been kind of tracking each other in that way.
yeah. So at the station, Esposito's frustrated because he's reached another dead end at the messenger case, and there's no evidence from the car that hit him. But they did end up finding Brady's wife and son at the doctor's office. So Castle goes to go listen to that interview, and the wife is insisting that he didn't do it, that the thing that was in the package was proof that he didn't do it. But so they don't mention what the proof is, right?
I don't think so.
Like how, like you think it's like an alibi?
I mean, it has to be some maybe he got the guy on tape paying him off or making the arrangements to pay him off if he would agree to say that he did it.
Or maybe printed emails or something? Because he contacted him via email or something, right?
I thought it was a phone call.
Oh, okay.
I think at the end when they're like kind of saying how he fixed things when Montgomery shows up at the restaurant, he's like you
Yeah.
called your buddies and started seeing who needed some money.
But yeah, so she reveals that she was getting payment every month for her husband going to prison for something he didn't do, and that he did it for their to pay for their son's treatment. But she doesn't actually know who committed the murder. So the team talked at the murder board, and Beckett explains that the payments started coming in a little short on money, and then they stopped altogether. So that's what triggers Brady to mail his package. And then Castle asked, I got confused here because Castle's like, is it possible someone was monitoring his calls? And I was like, well, I mean, didn't you guys listen to the recording earlier? But I guess he's more referring to the fact that someone knew who he called and then contacted somebody else about it. So
Yeah, I think it's maybe just it's ambiguous writing in terms of like because I think of what he's asking is if someone inside the prison
is
was
actively
listening.
listening instead of
Yeah,
versus like a standard recording kind of thing.
right. Because like all prison conversations are recorded
Yeah.
or phone calls are recorded. But like, is someone who has the ability to listen to those calls somehow communicating or monitoring and letting someone else on the outside know what's being said?
So Esposito points out that the amount of money that got paid to the wife was almost $1 million. So whoever had it, it was somebody who had means. And I did the calculation, and it was something like 840 and $850,000. So yeah, it was a lot of money. That's not
But if
like
it continued for the his whole sentence, that would have been well over $1 million.
yeah. Did they say what his sentence was?
I'm assuming 25 to 30.
That's a steep price.
Yeah. Anything to not go to prison, I guess.
So Beckett comforts Montgomery, assuring him that he had a solid case, but then he still feels guilty and he thinks that he didn't push hard enough. And so Beckett wants to work the old murder, but Montgomery doesn't understand why she wants it. But Castle compares this to how he forms a story for a novel. He says that the beginning is the hardest, but it's also the most important, and that's probably where they're gonna solve the whole thing, which ends up being true. So
Yeah.
they go back to the original murder case for Olivia DiBiase, who was murdered when she was just 20 years old. She was found in her apartment, I think, and she was bludgeoned to death, which is kind of brutal. I mean, when you think about it, I mean,
Yeah. I think Frank likes the killing, is what I think.
yeah, he although he didn't look like a menacing kind of guy. They cast a kind of unassuming kind of person as a fixer. He didn't really look how I would expect like a cold-blooded fixer guy to look.
Yeah, that's true. He's not the Punisher.
Montgomery says that because they got a confession from Brady, he didn't even read some of the canvassing reports that they're going over. And so Beckett says that there's a report that Olivia went to a party earlier on the night she was killed, and she went to the Pearson Club, which is a place that Castle knows as a high society club. And so he says that, that must be important, right? And so Olivia was apparently seen having a heated argument with someone in a blue blazer and an orange striped tie. And then this is when Ryan comes and reports that Perlmutter went over their autopsy report and he found something. So they go to talk to him, and he's just kind of miffed that they're interrupting his lunch. And I did want to note that he's actually at this point, and even before this, he doesn't have the level of disdain for Castle that he does later on. Yeah, he
Hmm.
actually seems just kind of standoffish slash grumpy in general. Like he doesn't seem to have contempt for Castle.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of jealous that Castle gets to be there. That he has to talk to him.
But he says that her wounds aren't consistent with a baseball bat, which is what Brady confessed to having killed her with. So Perlmutter says that he wants to exhume the body and x-ray her skull, and that's the only way that he'll be able to be sure that that's what killed her. And Castle got weirdly excited about that. Have they never exhumed the body so far?
I don't think we have.
Oh, okay. I liked this scene between them. Beckett steps out to take a call, and Castle asks Perlmutter if it's sanitary to be eating in the morgue. He's like, with the strength of their disinfectants, they're in the cleanest room in the city. And then he actually offers him some of his some of his lunch.
I mean, like, ew. I'm with Castle.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'll point out that I think realistically, you would not be allowed to eat in that room.
yeah.
Because I
Contamination.
think, yeah, it's like one of those things that like shows like CSI and like any of the shows that do like any forensic stuff. One of the big things they get wrong is, or two of the big things they get wrong. One is the clothing, right? Because everyone's always dressed in nice clothing and heels, and everyone's wearing like their open-toed sandals all around the lab. No, you can't do that. You have to have on long pants. You're not wearing a skirt. You're wearing long pants, unless that skirt is all the way to the floor. Long pants and closed-toed shoes, and also eating. Like you can't eat in a lab like that. You don't keep food around like these chemicals or anything.
Yeah,
And
you're
so I
gonna
don't.
be taking samples, and you want to attract like bugs and vermin and things like that. So
Right, and you can cross contaminate and like I mean
yeah.
I think Fringe when they do it like they show Walter like growing an ear in an omelet and you're just like ew, but they're also saying this is ridiculous, Walter, why are you doing this? This doesn't it's not sanitary.
Well, I mean, it's also not typical.
Right.
But speaking of that, though, do you think Walter would have eaten the omelet around the ear?
Probably. He'd probably be like, "Oh, the ear
It's
is
not
fine. There's no
touching.
bacteria." Yeah.
Ew, 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 ew. Oh boy. So I don't think Perlmutter offering Castle his lunch was a sincere offer. I think he just wanted to gross him out.
I think so cuz he's like I
Are you
simply
sure?
couldn't.
Are you sure?
I cannot.
So Beckett comes back from her phone call and reports that Olivia's fight was with a man named Jeff Dillahunt. It's just that name is just Dillahunt, and he has a trust fund worth millions. Are you gonna say something?
I was just going to say I think the name is because like it's supposed to sound old money and annoying.
Pretentious.
Yeah.
So they're gonna talk to Jeff, and he insists that he and Olivia were just friends. And when they scoff at that, he's like, "What about you? Are you guys together?" And this is where Beckett says, "Definitely not," and Castle says, "Not yet."
Castle being the optimist there.
I love the pause though that they do, where they just freeze and they look at each other like, "What did you just say?" But he explains that Olivia wanted to come with him to a family reunion, somebody else's family reunion, not even Jeff's family, right? It was like another family reunion. And Castle's like, "Who wants to go to someone else's family reunion?" And he's like, "Well, it depends on the family." And he mentions that it was for the Welsleys. And Castle plays this up. He's like, "The Welsleys, like he know we don't know who they are, but he's just playing them up so that we know that they're a big family, right?"
Hmm.
So Beckett asked this guy Jeff where he was on the night of her murder. He says that him and some of the Wellesley cousins went clubbing and got busted. And he says that his father made the arrest go away, and he has a framed copy of the arrest record. What a
Yeah.
strange, pretentious frat boy kind of thing to do.
Well, yeah, and not only that, he got busted with cocaine, and I can't remember what he
Yeah.
called it, but that's what he was talking about.
He called it Bolivian
Marching powder or something like
marching
that?
powder. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to Google that. I was like, what the heck is he talking about?
As soon as he said marching powder, I knew what he was talking about. But like, come on, man.
But on the off chance that he will recognize that she asks about whether he saw anybody in a blue blazer and an orange striped tie, and he says, "Why, yes, I do." And he shows them a photo of the family reunion, and all the Wellesley men are wearing blue blazers and orange striped ties, which complicates things, obviously, because now they have a ton of people to suspect. But when they showed the picture, I was like, "Oh, I recognize those two guys right there. What's one of
Yeah.
them?"
Yeah, I recognized the one guy. I was like, oh, yeah, so it's gonna be one of them.
People post that all the time on the Mentalist sub. They'll be like, "This show is so old. I always know who the killer is because I recognize them." And I was just like, "Well, that's kind of how it is. This is how people get their start. They guest star, and then eventually, if they're lucky, they make it big."
Yep.
So Montgomery continues to get heat for their closure raids. Ryan and Esposito get nowhere tracing the email account that Brady contacted the murderer with. And the warden at the prison doesn't want to give up his duty roster so that they can check on who might have been monitoring Brady's calls. But Montgomery is going to do some flexing. So,
Which that seems like a weird dynamic that he wouldn't give up the duty roster because this is a criminal matter and
yeah,
prisons
yeah.
are that's a state administrative matter, so that's two different things. Anyway,
Yeah, it just felt like they did that so that Montgomery could be like,
yeah, so he could
you
kind of get his groove back, right?
yeah, yeah. But they bring in the waitress who spotted this altercation between Olivia and this guy. And I thought it was really on the nose here because they're asking her, "Do you recognize anyone in this phone?" She's like, "This was 10 years ago. Do you remember what you were doing 10 years ago?" And I had been thinking the same thing. I was like, are they serious? They want her to remember something from one work night 10 years ago? It's kind of ridiculous. But she
Hmm.
does she does end up giving them valuable information. She says that they were fighting because Olivia had spilled wine on someone and she had to clean it up. And so they search the photo for someone with a wine stain, and they zero in on Trent Wellesley. They go to talk to him, and he's having lunch with his grandma, who is confused and talking about her ring.
But she was really just focused on that ring getting stolen. Anytime she saw Beckett, she wanted to talk about her stolen ring.
And they did solve that too, so although they don't mention whether they get it back. But so they talk on the side to Trent, and he just admits right away that he was the one arguing with Olivia. And he says that, he just saw her as a gold digger, basically. And he was trying to get her to leave the party because he thought that she was just trying to get with his uncle. But it
Hmm.
turns out to be he had no idea what was actually going on. He thought that she was trying to get with his uncle romantically, right?
Hmm. Yeah, like that's what was. I think the implication was that she was just at the party looking for a rich man.
Yeah, yeah. But it turns out she was actually looking for her father. So
Right.
So there's this part where he says, you know, if I had that kind of money to pay someone for murdering to cover up a murder, I wouldn't be here sucking up to the old lady. And then he says that his dad died when he was a kid, and that he and his mom had to survive on the generosity of others. I thought it was funny that Castle's like, because you couldn't get a job, basically, which I thought was amusing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't love that. Like, I think that was just like a punch up at rich people and castles in that circle. So I don't know. I didn't love it, but I get the purpose of it.
Yeah. So he's reluctant to name who he's protecting, but it turns out to be, like I said, his uncle Winston. So they go and they talk to Winston. And he tells them that he had met Olivia a few weeks prior and he took a shine to her and felt that he could mentor her. And this doesn't sound very good. And Castle's like, what does that mean? And like, that's what I was wondering too. I was like, what the heck does that mean, dude? She was 20. But, and he's very cocky too because Beckett asked him for an alibi. He's like, I was at home alone. And when she asked, oh, can anyone verify that? He's like, God.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the whole rich thing, right? Cuz like they're so wealthy, no one can touch them.
Yeah. So he's got to leave because he says he's got to go to his brother's campaign headquarters. And they had mentioned this earlier that his brother, Blake Wellesley, is running for Senate. And I guess their father was a politician as well back in the
Yeah, so
80s. So,
he's running for his dad's old
oh,
seat.
his dad's seat. Yeah, that's right. So at the station, they talk to Olivia's aunt about exhuming her body. And she mentions that Olivia was a very special girl, that she quit school to take care of her mother when she got cancer. But she also mentions that Winston paid for her funeral, which is suspicious. But then Ryan comes in and he has the duty rosters. He begins checking for names. And Montgomery wonders why the payment stopped if the killer is rich. And Castle chimes in to say that rich people are rich because they're cheap. And that's actually something that I learned with Crazy Rich Asians. Did you read that? Did you read that book or
Um
watch that movie?
I did both actually. And you're right.
That was like a whole thing, right? Like where they're saying that these people are rich because they skimp on everything else. And
Right. They're not wasting money on like they waste money, but it's not on like the crazy things that new money waste their money on.
but yeah, so Castle points out it was probably cheaper to kill Brady than to keep paying for it. So, and then Blake Wellesley, the politician, arrives to talk to them. He offers them a deal. He says that his family will cooperate completely as long as they stop making unannounced interviews and that they do them all at his office. But Montgomery declines and he kind of like does another flex here because Blake says, I can call the commissioner. And Montgomery tells him, tell him I said hi, that I'd like a raise. And after that, Castle's like, that was awesome.
Well, and I mean also too, like because we've seen Montgomery on the phone dealing with like the politics of
Yeah.
funding the precinct. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's kind of over this at this point.
So at home, Martha is still obsessing over whether to accept Chet's friend request. And Castle comes in. He's like, just make a decision already. And she agonizes over the fact that he's probably expecting 80s Martha. And this was cute. Castle reluctantly tells her that present Martha is pretty spectacular. And then he just hits the accept button for her. She goes to
Yeah.
look at his photo and he's done the same thing. He's used a really old photo for his profile.
Well, how will your old high school friends know who you are if you post your current photo?
Yeah, yeah. That I mean, I was thinking that too. I was like, if you like post like just your current picture, I mean, people might not everyone might remember who you are, right? So,
Hmm.
and I mean, it's like that for me too because like my high school class has like a Facebook group for everybody in our graduating class, and I had a really big graduating class. So there's a lot of people, and plus women get married, and so they take on somebody else's name, and so you don't always remember them, right? So at the morgue, Perlmutter has Olivia's coffin, and Castle says it's the Bentley of coffins, and he says that he knows due to book research for a Derek Storm book. And Pearl Mother warns them to expect the foulest of stenches when he opens it because it's been sealed for the last 10 years. But when he does, they open it up and they find bags of they don't say what it is, right? It's like sand, presumably, or dirt.
Sand or yeah, rice or something. Something to make the casket feel like there's something in there.
Yeah. And so Beckett finds out that it was an open casket funeral. So she was in it at some point, and then the funeral home is out of business, so they can't track that down. And then Castle mentions that high end coffins have secret drawers that you can put mementos in. And they open that one and they find old photos inside, along with a dried flower. And one of the photos is of Olivia's mother, and it shows her wearing a campaign button for Casper Wellesley. So Castle reads some periodicals and he learns that Blake and Winston worked for their father's campaign. And so they assume that that means that they both knew Olivia's mother. Ryan and Esposito bring in a guard who made suspicious cash deposits around the time of Brady's murder. And then Castle and Beckett go to talk to Winston again, strangely at the same bar.
Yeah, I think that's just where they hang out because like these social
I
clubs,
guess.
you pay a membership and
Oh,
you
it was
join.
at the Piercing Club. Oh, okay,
I think
okay,
so. Yeah,
all right.
I think.
So she threatens to release details about all this to the press, and he admits that he knew Olivia's mother, and then he says that Olivia had figured out that she was a Wellesley. And then he just tells them she was my daughter, and that he
Mhm.
was about to tell the family about this when she was murdered. And he insists that he didn't kill her and he didn't hide her body. And then at the station, Ryan and Esposito reveal that his alibi checked out and he's actually gay. So he's covering for somebody. So they're trying to figure out who that is. They bring in both the Wellesley brothers. And I do want to say that the guy Blake did genuinely seem like a good person
Yeah, he
because
didn't have any idea what was going on.
yeah, they're hiding. His whole family was hiding all this from him, right? And he seemed mostly interested in claiming her. You know, he was like, "She was my daughter. Like, why would you hide this from me?" Like, and I kind of like that about him. It was kind of surprising because you would expect like a politician to just be like, "Oh, yeah," like just kind of like wash his hands of everything, like
Yeah.
and he like Winston kept trying to tell him to shut up and that they should bring in their lawyers. And he was just like, "No, I want to know why you covered this up for me. And she was my daughter. And why did you tell them that you were her father?" kind of thing. And Winston lets it slip that we couldn't let you go down for this. And
Right.
so that turns out to be Mrs. Wellesley, the confused old grandma. So they go to talk to her, and she tells them that she gave Winston to Olivia. I guess I guess what happened was they knew that Olivia was looking for her dad, and so she
Mhm.
just she I guess she knew there was Blake, and so she gave her other son to him as a father figure instead.
Yeah, so basically the way that I understood what was happening is she knows Winston's gay, which is also a big no-no. So they put the kid on him and it makes it look like he's been with a woman. So then
Hmm.
that
That's like a
it
benefit,
beats
right?
the
Like a
gay.
win-win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like anti or it antagonizes the gay allegations. But then it keeps Blake's name clean because he's the one running for Senate. And so he can't have a daughter like this and still run for Senate because they mention it that she came forward during his first run. So the first time he ran for Senate, he lost. And that's, I think, a sticking point for Blake because he's like, why did you go through all of this and I still lost anyway? Like
Yeah,
it was never that serious that
yeah.
y'all had to hide her and then kill her. And this is crazy.
But this whole time, like she's got like this hovering guy around her like
Hmm.
assistant or something, talking about her medicine and how this isn't good for her and blah 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 blah. He's telling people to just leave her alone, and then he says he's gonna go get her medicine, and this is the guy Frank. And so when he's gone, Beckett asks her outright, "Did you kill Olivia?" And she says, "No, I just said take care of it, and it was taken care of."
Yeah.
And it turns out it was
Very
taken care
bold.
of by Frank. So,
Yeah. And I mean, she's
uh,
able to just say that too because, like, what the hell are they going to do to her?
yeah,
I mean, they can book her for murder for hire. That lady's not going to prison. Like,
yeah,
she's
yeah.
not.
So Montgomery goes and arrests Frank, and they reveal that he was the family fixer, and that he was basically paying off Brady Thompson. But then when she lost like her mental faculties, power of attorney went to her son Blake, and then he couldn't access the money to pay him off anymore, which is what was starting, which explains why the money started coming up short and why it eventually stopped altogether. So Beckett reports that these closed cases puts them at their benchmark, and Montgomery is happy that he can tell Olivier's aunt that they got justice for her. But I was just like, okay, but she's still missing. Like
I'm a s-
they never found out where Olivia ended up. They hid her body.
No,
Like,
I think they incinerated her. I think she, as soon as that funeral ended, I think they put her in the incinerator. That's what I
uh,
think happened, which is why they mentioned the funeral home being out of business, because that would have been,
uh-huh.
I think, again, this is just all supposition on my part, but like I think that's where that was headed. Was they probably just cremated her instead of burying
Okay,
her,
okay.
and then buried the casket with the weights in it.
It just felt like such a loose thread to me that he was like, "Oh, I can go tell her aunt that we got justice for her," and I was just like, "But she's still missing." Because they don't
Yeah.
mention, I mean, like what you say makes sense, but they don't mention Frank saying, "Oh, I threw her in the incinerator," or "I buried her here," or something
I
like
mean,
that, you
if
know?
you're going to hide a body, you don't bury it, you incinerate it because eventually it's going to get found.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
they would do another autopsy and be like, "Oh, well, this person was supposed to be buried here." So
Okay.
to me, it just makes more sense. I don't know. Maybe I just seen like too many of these shows where I'm like, "Oh, they cremated her. That's what happened." And they can't find the nursing home people, or sorry, not nursing home, but funeral home people.
But I mean, it's really sad when you think about like this girl because she's just looking for her dad, and instead she gets beaten to death, and then she gets burned to a crisp to hide the evidence. It's kind of sad.
I mean, it's a very sad situation, I think, because like she only, I think, gets this information once her mom is on her deathbed, and so she's lost one parent, and then she's just looking for the second parent. And I think everyone just, we don't really know enough about this, but I got the impression that everyone just assumed she was after money. Whereas, like, I think if she had been put in contact with Blake, her actual father, I do think they might have formed a relationship. That was
Yeah.
kind of the vibe he was giving off.
And
Um,
also what they seem to be establishing with the aunt too, like she was saying that she was actually a really good person because she quit school to take care of her mom. So it doesn't sound like she was the money grubber that the Wellesleys thought she was. So
right. They're just paranoid, right? Everyone's after us for our money.
yeah. But okay, so I mentioned that I was pleasantly surprised by the guy Blake and how he reacted, but I felt like they could have gone a little bit further and just shown him being upset that his own family murdered his daughter, basically, right? So
I feel like that's one of those things the wealthy people deal with behind closed doors.
So the episode ends with Castle and Alexis discussing the case's outcome, and Castle tells her that Blake pledged $20 million to a kids' charity who's going to handle Brady's son's care, which was nice. And then Martha comes downstairs in a glittery red jacket, and she says that she's had rich and she's had poor, and now she just wants fun. So she's going out on a date with Chet. She shakes
Yeah.
her booty at them and tells him not to wait up for her because Mama's on the prowl, which is where we get our episode title from.
Yeah. I really like that scene because, like, I like Castle telling Alexis, how did he say it? He was like, basically, you don't have to worry about the reputation, the family's reputation, because Grandma and I have already done enough.
And she's like, is an insanity inherited?
Hmm.
Okay, watches. Beckett's hair watch. I actually didn't see her hair very much. I think it's the same though, right?
Yeah, it's the same. I don't have much to report here this week.
Pop culture references, "Don't kill the messenger" is a popular idiom, and then in the beginning when Castle's rambling about trying to tell Beckett about the case, he mentions Kevin Bacon in Quicksilver. This is a 1986 movie, and I think he's a bike messenger in that one. It's so
Mhm.
funny because I thought I knew all Kevin Bacon movies, but I have literally never heard of this movie until
I mean,
until I went and looked this up.
he's one of those actors, I think he's just been in a lot of movies.
And 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Mhm.
And then there's also a mention, although I don't remember what part this was. He says Dick Cheney's soul on the way to the devil. I wrote that down, but what part was
I have no idea.
that? No Martha isms, although I did mention the
Yes,
whole internet thing, right?
we did have a Marthaism.
Oh, okay, okay.
I just went with like the off-brand Facebook account, the opening scene that we see in their house, and I thought I have two words for you: hairline and receding. Um, where I would count that as a Marthaism.
Okay, author's notes. So at the crime scene where the bike messenger was killed, you can actually, I mean, Castle takes place in New York, but you can clearly see behind them the sign for this place called the Cecil Hotel, which is in downtown LA and which is actually a really famous hotel. It's known as a hub of crime and violence, and it was actually featured in a true crime documentary on Netflix called The Vanishing of Cecil Hotel. And it's also where the Night Stalker Richard Ramirez lived during his killing spree. So
Mm.
it's kind of like a creepy, notorious location in LA, not New York.
Wrong coast.
I think in general, when they have like urban street scenes, they tend to film in downtown LA
Yeah,
to
because
kind
I
of
mean, like
make it
if
look like New York, right?
yeah, and if you do it, I think at the right angle, it just looks like a narrow city street.
Yeah. And we mentioned this earlier. Bolivian marching powder is slang for cocaine. And then the director for this one, Jonathan Frakes, he will go on to direct two more episodes of Castle, but this was his first one. And for those who don't know, Jonathan Frakes is from Star Trek.
Yep.
He's number one. Casket Corner. So Casket Corner. To me, the only one was when that guy says, "Are you two together?" And she says, "Definitely not." And he says, "Not yet." I thought that was cute. Bestseller list. My favorite scene was actually that one, the one where he says, "Are you two together?" I thought that was very amusing. So,
Yeah, and I like Castle and Alexis at the end
mm.
when they're talking and the part about the family reputation. And he's kind of just telling her how things ended, and then Martha comes down.
So my favorite line or interaction was actually like a transition thing. Beckett asks Castle, "Are you looking at porn?" And he says, "No, I use Ryan's computer for that."
Poor Ryan. Kevin Ryan is like, what is? Why is my computer being like slow? And for me, it was when Alexis asked Martha race, and she said colorblind.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to have a new Beckett's interrogation for you guys when we come back. All right, we're back with a new Beckett's interrogation. The way this works is I'm going to ask Neoshia 6 questions about the episode we just discussed, and you'll all have 5 seconds to come up with an answer. Are you ready?
I sure am.
Wow, looking at my questions, I don't know if this seems kind of hard.
All right, let's just do it. Let's just do
Question
it.
1. How does Castle describe the coffin for Olivia? It's the what of coffins?
I feel like you just said this, and I am. It's something expensive. The BMW,
Bentley.
Bentley.
See, I'm trying to throw you guys off now because Tara and Karen, they're all doing this thing where they're like specifically taking notes, reading my notes, and trying to see what I'm going to ask based on my notes. So if they notice that I've left a detail out of my notes, they'll think that I'm going to ask about that. So now I'm putting in things that I still have in my notes just to throw people off. Okay, question 2. What was Perlmutter eating for lunch?
It was a sandwich. I feel like it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
It looked like one, yeah. And something else too.
No idea.
It was a fruit bowl.
Okay.
But it's okay. I'll give you credit for the sandwich. Okay. What precinct was the package being delivered to?
So I think it would have been the 6-4 because that was
Yep.
Montgomery's
Yep.
precinct.
Very good. Question 4. What term of endearment does Brady use for Aunt Sally?
I don't know.
Mima.
Mima.
Although, isn't it for grandma?
Yeah, so I mean, she might be his great aunt.
Oh, okay. Question 5. What does Brady's son have that he needs special care for?
A respiratory disorder.
Yep. It's not as hard as I thought. All right, last question. What happened to Martha's friend's cat that she wasted 20 minutes of her life talking about?
Well, I'm not going to say died because Martha wouldn't say like she died, so she wasted 20 minutes talking about it. She got fixed? I don't know.
She was passing a kidney stone.
Fair.
That could take 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Very good. 4 out of 6. All right, any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I like this episode. I think it's a classic, like, wealthy family does something shady episode, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, me too. It's a good standalone. Although it does, I feel like it does. There's a future storyline that I feel like people are being eased into maybe a little bit with this one and Montgomery. So
I have thoughts on that, but we'll come back to those.
all right. So if you're enjoying Rom-Com Detectives, we hope you'll consider taking a minute to leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. For our question of the week, leave us a comment on Spotify, YouTube, or Reddit and tell us whether you would have eaten lunch in the morgue. If you'd like to join additional conversations about Castle, you can visit the Castle subreddit at reddit.com/r/CastleTV. To contact me and Neoshia, email us at host@romcomdetectives.com. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, or Blue Sky at romcomdetectives, or leave us a voicemail or text message at 1-650-733-XOXO or 9696. This episode of Rom-Com Detectives was recorded on July 1st, 2026. Rom-Com Detectives Castle Unit is co-hosted by Krista Watanabe and Neoshia Roemer and is produced by Pico's House. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next time for our breakdown of episode 9, Love Me Dead. Bye.
Bye, everybody.